Why do some people completely transform their lives, while others stay exactly the same for 10 years straight? Why do most people quit right before they become dangerous to their own excuses? Why does comfort always feel stronger than ambition, even when ambition is what you truly want? The answer isn't talent, it isn't genetics, it isn't luck. Your brain is simply doing its job. It is protecting the version of you it already knows, even when that version is exhausted, stuck, and quietly unhappy. Bruce Wayne understood something almost nobody else figures out in time. You don't become stronger by wishing for a different life. You become stronger by becoming a different person. Today, you're going to learn Batman's complete transformation system. The same psychology and training structure that turns an ordinary, tired, distracted human being into the strongest version of themselves. Not motivation. Training, Batman was not born extraordinary. He built himself, piece by piece, in the dark, with nobody clapping. Every habit he repeated, every scar he earned, every uncomfortable decision he made before sunrise. Every promise he kept to himself when it would have been easier to break it. None of that happened by accident. It happened by design. So forget the cape for a moment. Forget the mask. This isn't a motivational speech to make you feel good for 20 minutes and then forget by tomorrow. This is transformation training. And by the end of it, you will know exactly what to do. Destroy your old identity. Bruce Wayne could have stayed a grieving boy in a mansion. Nobody would have blamed him. That identity was available, comfortable, and expected. He refused it. Here is the real-life problem. Most people are not failing because they lack information. They already know they should train, eat better, wake up early, study harder, save money. The problem is, they are still mentally living as the person who doesn't do those things. Psychology explains why this trap is so powerful. Your brain runs on something researchers call self-image consistency. Whatever identity you believe describes you, your brain will unconsciously work to make your actions match it. If you believe, "I'm not a disciplined person," your brain will quietly sabotage disciplined behavior because discipline feels foreign, even threatening, to the identity it's protecting. This is the identity loop. And underneath it sits habit memory. Your brain automatically reaches for the familiar action, not the better one, because familiar feels safe. Batman's philosophy solves this with one brutal decision. He never waited to feel stronger before acting stronger. He stopped identifying with the weaker version of himself first and let the actions follow. Here is your practical system, step by step. First, write down 3 identities you need to leave behind. Be specific. Not "I'm lazy." Instead, "I'm someone who scrolls for 2 hours before starting my day." Second, replace each one with an action-based identity, not a feeling-based one. "I want discipline" becomes "I never miss my morning routine." "I want to be healthy" becomes "I train 4 times a week, no negotiation." Action-based identities are trackable. Feelings are not. Third, say the new identity out loud once a day, but only after you've done the action. Identity is proven, not declared. Think about the student who tells themselves, "I'm bad at studying," and then studies exactly like someone bad at studying would, last minute, distracted, phone nearby. Or the office worker who says, "I'll start being productive next month," while this month quietly disappears. Or the gym beginner who identifies as not a gym person, so they quit in week 2, right on schedule. Exactly as their old identity predicted. Your Batman training mission for today is simple. Complete one action today that your old identity would normally avoid. One, that's the whole mission. Here is the truth Batman would tell you. You are not what you were yesterday. You are what you choose to repeat starting tonight. Memorable line for the record. You don't kill your old self with willpower. You kill it with one uncomfortable action, repeated on purpose. But identity is only the foundation. The real war happens in your mind, in the exact moment your motivation disappears. And that's where most people lose. Let's go there next. Train when your mind says stop. Alfred never had to convince Bruce to train. Bruce trained whether he felt like it or not, because he understood something most people never learn. Feelings are not instructions. Here's the real-life problem. You plan to work out, write, study, or build your business at 7 in the morning. 7 arrives. Your mind produces a wave of resistance, so convincing it feels like wisdom. Not today. You're tired. Tomorrow, you'll have more energy. And tomorrow, the exact same wave shows up again. Psychology explains this clearly. Your brain is wired for energy conservation. From an evolutionary standpoint, effort was dangerous, because effort burned calories you might need to survive a famine or a predator. Your brain doesn't know it's 2026 and food is in your kitchen. It still treats unnecessary effort as a threat to conserve against. That wave of resistance you feel isn't laziness, it's ancient software running in a modern world. Batman's philosophy here is precise. He never waited for the feeling of readiness, because he knew that feeling was never coming on command. He trained the decision, not the mood. Here is your practical system. Use what we'll call the 5-minute rule. Commit to only 5 minutes of the task, not the whole workout, not the whole essay. 5 minutes. Your brain resists big commitments, but rarely resists something this small. Once you start, momentum usually carries you far past 5 minutes, because starting was always the real barrier, not finishing. Second, reduce friction before resistance even has a chance to speak. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Open your laptop to the exact document you need to write the night before. Put your phone in another room before you sleep, so morning you doesn't have to negotiate with a temptation that's already in reach. Picture the person who says, "I'll start my business when I feel more confident," while confidence only ever arrives after the first 10 uncomfortable actions, never before them. Or the parent who wants to read more but never opens the book, versus the one who commits to 5 minutes and finishes 3 chapters without noticing. Your Batman training mission is this. The next time you feel resistance today, do not wait for it to pass. Commit to 5 minutes only, and begin immediately. Discipline is not the absence of resistance. It's moving forward while resistance is still talking. Memorable line, you don't need motivation to start. You need 5 minutes and a decision. But starting is only half the mission. The other half happens after life hits you, when your emotions try to run the show. That's where real strength gets built. Build mental armor. Bruce Wayne watched his parents die as a child. Most people, understandably, would let that moment define every decision for the rest of their life. He refused to let pain drive the car. He decided pain could sit in the back seat, but it would never hold the wheel. Here's the real-life problem. Something goes wrong. A harsh comment from your boss, a rejection, a bad grade, a fight with someone you love, and your entire day collapses around that one moment. You replay it for hours. You make decisions from anger or shame instead of clarity. Psychology calls this an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain reacts faster than your rational brain can catch up, flooding you with stress chemicals before you've even had a chance to think. Left unmanaged, this becomes negative self-talk, an internal narrator that turns one bad moment into "I always mess things up," which is a story, not a fact. Batman's philosophy is not suppression, it's separation. Feel the emotion fully. Never let it drive. Here is your 4-step practical system. Step 1. Pause. The moment you notice a strong emotional reaction, physically stop before responding to anything. Step 2. Observe. Notice the sensation in your body without judging it. Tight chest, clenched jaw, racing thoughts. Just observe, like a scientist studying data. Step 3. Name the emotion out loud or in your head. This is anger. This is embarrassment. Naming an emotion activates the rational part of your brain and immediately reduces its intensity, This is a well-documented psychological effect. Step 4. Choose the next useful action, not the next emotional reaction. Ask yourself one question: what would the strongest version of me do right now? Then do that instead. Think of the employee who gets harsh feedback in a meeting and either spirals for the rest of the day or pauses, names the sting as embarrassment, and channels it into fixing the actual problem within the hour. Same event. 2 completely different outcomes, based entirely on what happens in the 90 seconds after the trigger. Your Batman training mission is this. The next time you feel a strong negative emotion today, run the 4 steps before you react. Pause, observe, name it. Choose your next action on purpose. Pain is data. Only the untrained let it become the decision maker. Memorable line: you can't control what happens to you. You can always control what happens next. Emotional armor protects you in the moment. But there's a slower, quieter threat working against you every single day: your habits. And most of them are working against you without your permission. Remove weak habits. Every version of Bruce Wayne that ever mattered protected his routines like they were sacred. Not because routines are exciting, because routines are what strength is actually built from, one repetition at a time. Here's the real-life problem. You don't have a discipline problem. You have a habit loop problem, and most people don't even know their habits are running the show. Psychology breaks every habit into 3 parts. A cue triggers it, a routine follows, a reward reinforces it. You feel bored, so you open your phone. That's a cue leading to a routine, followed by a small dopamine reward. Repeat that loop enough times, and it stops being a choice. It becomes automatic. This is exactly how phone addiction, late-night scrolling, and procrastination take hold, quietly, one tiny reward at a time, until the loop runs itself. Batman's philosophy here is protection, not perfection. He didn't try to eliminate every weakness overnight. He protected a small number of routines so fiercely that everything else had to organize around them. Here is your practical system. Pick exactly 1 bad habit to replace this week, not 5. 1. Identify its cue. Is it boredom, stress, a specific time of day, a specific location? Design a replacement routine that satisfies the same cue but delivers a stronger reward. Bored at night and reaching for your phone, replace it with 10 pages of a book that also gives your brain something to focus on. Redesign your environment so the weak habit requires more effort to access than the strong one. Charge your phone in another room overnight. Put your workout clothes where your snacks used to be. Willpower is unreliable. Environment is not. Build 1 morning anchor and 1 night anchor. A morning anchor might be no phone for the first 30 minutes of your day. A night anchor might be phone away 1 hour before sleep. These 2 bookends protect your entire day without requiring constant willpower. Consider the student who studies with their phone face up on the desk, checking it every few minutes without even deciding to, versus the one who puts it in a drawer in another room and finishes in half the time, or the family member who scrolls through social media during dinner instead of being present, quietly damaging a relationship one distracted meal at a time. Your Batman training mission is this: choose 1 habit today. Identify its cue. Redesign your environment so the weak version becomes harder to reach than the strong version. You don't defeat a bad habit with willpower, you defeat it with a better environment. Memorable line: discipline isn't fighting temptation all day, it's designing a life where temptation rarely shows up. Once your habits are working for you instead of against you, there's one more shift required. You have to stop chasing motivation completely and start protecting something far more powerful. Standards. Become obsessed with daily standards. Bruce Wayne didn't train because he felt inspired that particular morning. Some mornings, he almost certainly didn't want to. He trained because a standard once set is not up for daily debate. Here's the real-life problem. Motivation is a mood, and moods are unreliable. People who rely on motivation train hard for 2 weeks and disappear for 2 months. People who rely on standards show up regardless of mood, and that's the actual difference between people who transform and people who stay the same for years. Psychology explains why standards outperform motivation. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum is measurable through habit tracking. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you build something researchers call self-efficacy, a genuine, evidence-based belief that you are someone who follows through. This belief compounds. Each kept promise makes the next one easier to keep. Each broken promise makes the next one easier to break too. Your brain is always collecting evidence about which type of person you are. Batman's philosophy is simple and unforgiving in the best way. Protect the standard, not the mood. Here is your practical system. Build a daily scoreboard, a simple checklist, 3 lines, nothing complicated. Did you do it or not? Binary, no self-negotiation. Choose 3 non-negotiables, not 10. 3. Things so small they're almost impossible to skip, like drink water first thing, move your body for 10 minutes, no phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Small standards protected every day beat large standards abandoned every other week. Protect these 3 even on your worst day, especially on your worst day. A bad day with 3 non-negotiables kept is still a day your identity stayed intact. A bad day where you abandon everything teaches your brain that standards are optional, and that lesson is expensive. Picture the business owner who only works hard when they feel inspired by a new idea, versus the one who shows up and executes daily regardless of mood, and ends up years ahead simply because they never stopped. Or the person trying to save money who only sticks to a budget when they feel motivated, versus the one who treats their 3 financial non-negotiables as fixed, no matter what kind of week it's been. Your Batman training mission is this. Choose your 3 non-negotiables right now. Write them down. Complete all 3 today, no matter what kind of day you've had. Motivation is a visitor. Standards are a resident. Memorable line: you don't need to feel like the strongest version of yourself. You need to protect 3 small promises every single day until you become him. Every lesson so far has been building toward one final truth, and this is where everything comes together, the monster within. Let's be clear about a word we've been circling this entire video: the monster. The monster was never about violence, and it was never about becoming cold or cruel to the people around you. The monster is what psychologists would simply call full self-mastery, unbreakable discipline, complete emotional control, relentless consistency, especially when nobody's watching and no one would ever know if you quit. The strongest version of you is not hiding somewhere in your future, waiting for the right circumstances to reveal itself. It is being built or neglected right now through the identity you choose, the resistance you push through, the emotions you learn to observe instead of obey, the habits you redesign, and the standards you refuse to break. Bruce Wayne didn't wake up one day as Batman. He became someone who trained before dawn on ordinary Tuesdays. Someone who kept promises to himself that no one else ever saw him keep. Someone who stopped waiting for motivation and started protecting standards instead. That's not a comic book. That's a repeatable, learnable, psychological process, and you now have every piece of it. No more excuses. No more waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect circumstances. No more dependence on motivation that was never reliable to begin with. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances first, hoping a new job, a new relationship, or a new city will finally make them into someone stronger. Batman changed himself first. That's why his circumstances eventually changed too. The strongest version of yourself is not created in one heroic, cinematic moment. It's built in hundreds of ordinary moments, in empty rooms, at inconvenient hours, when absolutely nobody is watching and no one would ever find out if you gave up. The monster isn't the person everyone fears. The monster is the person who finally stopped making excuses. That's the Batman method. If you're ready to become that person, don't just watch this and move on. Comment 3 words below. I choose strength, not for the algorithm, not for this channel. As a promise to the person you are becoming, one you will actually keep.